So, welcome to another episode of Healing Money Talks. My name is Emma Lucy Wall, and I invite you, as always, to put your phone on aeroplane mode, to put the kettle on, make yourself a nice warm drink, find somewhere comfortable to sit and relax and listen really deeply to the conversation that's about to unfold. You never know what you might hear. My very special guest today is Holly Woods, PhD. Holly is a purpose activator, an author, a scientist, a master coach, and a consultant who sees deeply into her clients' souls. For 35 years, she's guided people to align their life, their work, and their businesses with purpose so that they can create meaningful lives, manifest their unreasonable goals, create more profit, and have greater impact. Holly is founder of the Emergence Institute and the Purpose Creators Collective. Her bestseller, The Golden Thread, Where to Find Purpose in the Stages of Your Life, demonstrates where to find the clues about purpose so you can make your greatest contribution. I met Holly through Sarah McCrum's work, and it's a pleasure, Holly, to welcome you to my summit.
Thank you, Emma. I'm just delighted to be here. Really looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. The first thing I wanted to tap into was when I read your bio, there was one word that really stood out for me, which was this unreasonable goals, helping people towards their unreasonable goals. Would you like to expand a little bit on what you mean by that?
Absolutely. And, that's intentional. It has an energy, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because when we think about goals, we tend to imagine this linear reductive process that helps us turn, dreams into strategies, goals and strategies, and then we, set out our to-do lists and we march along that path.
Mm-hmm.
And my knowing, my way of being in the world, and how I work with clients, and how my life is unfolded is that it's really not like that. We've turned to something that is available from the universe, the cosmos, and which we can align with, into something that's small. And so I really beg people, I beg us all really, and support my clients to live their dreams, because we all have these visions and dreams. We all have them. Some of us call ourselves visionaries because we claim them,
Yeah.
but we all have them. And those ideas are really creative impulses from the universe. And when we can claim them and own them, and take responsibility for them, we recognize that's God, that's creation, that's source wanting to live through us. And usually I call that purpose. It's something that's wanting to be birthed through our lives. And it seems unreasonable for most people that we have those, but we do.
But we do. And in your experience, what has stopped people from realizing those unreasonable dreams and goals?
Well, we're all told, at very early age that we're limited. So we're, represented through people's mirrors of us as children. And then that just expands throughout our life. So we come to know ourselves as much smaller and more limited than we truly are. And so part of my job is to actually help people see themselves more, as the fullest, most whole, healed, and purposeful being that we truly are. And we all, so that lives within us. It's hidden because of our conceptions of ourselves.
Yeah, we take a bit of a battering, really, don't we?
Oh, wow.
I love Marissa Peer's talk when she talks about the babies in the pram who are just sitting there going, I pooped, I peed, come and change me. And they just don't have all this stuff rolling around in their heads. And specifically, money, I know that your entire healing journey has not been exclusively about money.
Mhm.
but that there have been some ripples into your financial world through your own personal healing.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think for most of us who have healing journeys to undertake, it's part of the equation that we need resources, we need abundance in order to live the most meaningful lives that we can. And so, like many others, it's usually when I've tried to tap into this grander version, grander, bigger, more authentic version of me that I contract. And there goes the money. like I'm dreaming, I see the dream, I want to live into it. And then, the trepidation, the fear steps in, and I contract and I start hiding. And then all the resources dry up because I'm no longer either putting things out in the world or magnetizing them to me. And then I have this very contracted and impoverished phase. And so I've done this a few times. Literally, I've actually had pretty significant abundance at different points in my life and pretty significant impoverishment. It's this really weird cycle. I've had to what the heck is going on? And so in learning to manage that, it's like, oh, it's when I get, it's when I dream big and when I want to put things in the world, and, there I go. And so there goes all the resources, the energy, as Sarah talks about, the fresh energy of the idea. And so there goes the money. So my healing journey really has been about learning to stay open, even when there is some fear about what I'm bringing in, and receiving what is rightfully mine, given I'm bringing in something universal.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's
And moving it out for other people. I
right.
haven't read your book. I
Of
confess I
course.
haven't read your book, but tell. See, I have I've skim read, so I have a sense of there are lines, aren't there?
These
These
threads,
mm,
threads, through line, a thread. And so my work with people really is about uncovering that through line or that thread, that what I actually see the golden thread, and identifying how that has lived in different stages of your life, so you can really, again, claim that version of you that's wanting to be amplified, your soul pulling you forward, and begin to live into the next expression of you. So I believe we're always on purpose, that we're always expressing some form of our essential self,
mhm.
i.e. purpose. And that as we evolve, there's another version of that wants to be expressed. So my goal in helping people uncover their purposes are what is actually wanting to be birthed from you now, because another version of you that has evolved through your healing and personal journey is more likely to not only bring greater joy and fulfillment to you and bring that abundance, bring money back into your life, but it's also going to have a greater impact, because it's going to be coming from a higher, more evolved, more coherent version of you.
Mm.
So it's in finding that through line, that golden thread, that we can also pull out the next expression, the next trajectory. So usually when I'm working with somebody, we uncover the thread, and when they gain coherence and alignment with that, alignment with purpose, it's like the synchronicity of life universe comes in, like, oh, you're ready now. It's like this big conversation, with the universe, like, okay, now I'm ready. And here synchronicity and magic shows up, and the next expression, like, oh, this is what's next for me. It's
Yeah.
not like I have to go in and figure out what my next product or my next business or my next role is. It actually emerges from the work. And that's why I literally have been studying emergence for a while. And that really is the synthesis of the disorder and the order that emerges through various phases of our life, that we're always in disintegration and then reintegration and coherence. So that process literally occurs all of our lives, but we don't notice it. when we feel those transition phases, those transitory phases of disintegration, it's very painful and it kind of hurts, and we complain and whine and like, why isn't it, what is next? But we're always coming to a greater order of coherence to our more evolved selves. And
Yes,
we need it more than ever now, right?
more than ever now. Absolutely. Well, now we're doing it collectively, aren't we?
Yes, so that too. I mean, there's both the individuating coherence, and then there's a coherence or resonance between us that also brings a higher order, the collective.
Yeah. I know Sarah, part of Sarah's work is this relaxation piece, isn't it? Where
Yes.
she loves it when we're in pain and contracted and going, oh my God, I want it all to stop. That's one of her favourite things, because she says that's time for the energy to come through. It's time to take that big energetic dump and let the new stuff come through. So I'm going to ask a slightly controversial question that you might not be completely ready for, but have you experienced a difference between the genders? Do you think women seem to be more in this conscious community to me? I mean, it's not just seem to be, they are. There's 80% women to every call I go on, there's 8 women to 1 or to 2 men, if we're lucky.
I would disagree with that. I would say I have had, different phases of my business and career. I've worked with more women or more men. And at one point I thought, oh, I mostly want to work with women. And then a whole bunch of men showed up like, oh no, actually, I love working with men just as much as women. I think women are more likely to join groups and be a part of online communities, especially. I have worked with incredibly conscious men. In fact, some of my more recent clients have been incredibly evolved men. So I don't agree with that women are more likely to be, at higher stages of consciousness. I just think we show up differently. We're more likely to insert ourselves in community settings. And I'm a part of a couple of, I'm a part of 4 collectives that are more men. Okay. So it's fascinating. I can't explain actually 5 collectives now that I'm thinking about it. And then my own community, the Purpose Creators Collective, at the moment is more women, but it does have men. So I can't explain it. I don't actually see any distinction when I'm working with people at different stages of consciousness. I actually don't yet see gender differences, but that's a great question, and I probably now will ask that question.
I really like your answer as well, because I think it might be about how we just operate in the world. I think women tend to process the world more in community, and men tend to process the world more in isolation.
And I think it depends on the community. So the community we met in, Sarah McCrum's, which is an energetic, energy community sort of, I have found more women. I've trained in several different types of energy work, and I find that most of the people who do that work are women, fewer men. But other communities, digital communities and otherwise, that are more action oriented, this may be actually the key to this question, is there more men? So what is the focus or the objective of the community? Is it about, the energy work is more about being and receiving and the subtle nature of our reality, and other communities that might be more doing. And I'm not at all in any way suggesting that women are being and men are doing. I want to completely dissuade us from going there, because it's not the truth, and I wouldn't actually even propose that. But it may be just how we show up in community. I don't know. Good question.
Yeah, and feminine and masculine energy are very real things, aren't they?
Yeah, but they exist.
And we both genders contain both sets of energy. So interesting. Thank you for that, because and
I also just want to insert here that the stages of consciousness model that I have studied, developed by Terry O'Fallon and her colleagues, and is part of my book. And what I was referencing there has doing aspects to it. So there isn't some people are being and some people are doing. It's like we all must be in order to learn how to be in a particular stage of consciousness, and then we practice it by doing. And it's a this fluctuating being doing interaction.
What was the name of the teacher again? You said that?
Terry O'Fallon, and her work is Stages of Consciousness. And yeah, I've been studying it for about 6 years, and it's the framework I use in my book, The Golden Thread, to look at purpose across stages of consciousness. And the premise being that our purpose, we have a fundamental purpose, an essential way of being in the world that has many facets, but that expression, there are many expressions of that purpose over the course of our lifetime, but the fundamental purpose stays the same. And depending on the stage of consciousness, we have different developmental tasks to accomplish, so it looks different. It's one of my hypotheses anyway.
Hmm. Interesting, very interesting. And regarding money and the general healing of money, what do you have anything for our listeners as a little sort of takeaway that you're what would you advise people who are struggling around money at the moment?
Yeah, what's been important for me? Many of my clients actually have this struggle. And one of the ways that I support, that I've worked on it myself and have supported my clients, is actually to stay in the thread of purpose and continually align with purpose and call in the energies of that unreasonable goal, that vision, and knowing that our intention there is going to bring in the right energies. So if we can stay in the alignment, the synchronicity happens, and allowing in, as Sarah says, the fresh energy
Yeah.
of what is associated with that, then we're more likely to not fall into that trap of, of the limited thinking about having enough resource.
I love that. My passion is for getting spiritual people, healers, mostly healers who have this real resistance to
Yeah.
receiving money. And I include myself in that. I had spent a long time pushing money away.
Yeah.
um, and I believe that's maybe I was ducked, burnt at the stake, something for my witchy ways along the way. But my real turning point, well, a lot of Sarah's work, actually, that it's not just Sarah's work that I study around money, but when we can shift it, and when we understand that money's not going to make us bad, it's actually just going to make us more of what we are, and it gives us the freedom to express that. And I love what you said about it, when we know our purpose,
Mhm.
and we just see those resources lining up behind us to be able to push us into our purpose and support us as we walk into that.
Yeah.
And we're going through this incredible time of change and evolution on the planet. And it's, for me, it's time for the healers to stand up and really make a big song and dance. And
Yeah, it is. And, I guess, in our earliest conversation, I don't see money outside, different than the energy of courage or confidence, or bravado that many healers want to keep themselves small and humble, and the reality is the more I can shine my gift, share my gift, radiate my gift in the world, the more impact I'm going to have. And I'm going to resonate with those people who most need my gift. And which means that I really have to stand tall and big and strong and proud. Like, I got this. This is what I have. And if you want it and need it, I'm here to support you and service. And I need resources to do that. So I don't, money to me is a part of the equation that lets us be everything that we're meant to be in a given lifetime.
mhm.
I didn't want to be loud and courageous either. That was, just want to be of service, and you have to come find me, and I'm hiding under a rock.
Yeah, that doesn't do really, does it?
Doesn't do
It's
much
it's
good.
very difficult to look under every rock. And there is, yeah. I mean, I find it absolutely fascinating. I've been working with somebody recently who's very spiritual, and I can feel her in exactly the same energy as I was. Just, oh yeah. And I think it's because when we have gifts, we don't end up valuing them
Right.
because they're our gifts, because it's not difficult for us to do those things. And we lose sight of how powerful they are for other people.
Yeah, and so I'm so glad you said that, because this really is an artifact of the work that I do. I mean, bar none, like 100% of the people that when we arrive at uncovering the thread and the purpose, they're like, "That's all?" Like,
Oh,
that's it?
really?
But I do it all the time. And it's like, I know you were expecting some angel delivered, wrapped in bows version of purpose, but in fact, you were always on purpose. I said that. Like, and it's always here, and you've always been doing it. It's what you can't not do. But because you weren't aware of it in your life and its many forms of expression, it's not something unusual to you. And there's usually a fair amount of shadow attached to it, so we need to be aware of both amplifying the gift and really claiming it and learning how to deliver it in the world more profoundly. And also, let's talk about the shadow that's associated with it, and heal that and integrate the parts that have been fractured from childhood. And and so we kind of clean it up. Like, there's
Mm.
a way of doing all of those things that, like, oh, now I get it. Now I see how I've been serving in the world all this time and what I'm here to do next. And it's this really powerful, it almost feels like, well, people walk away like, well, what did we do? Almost like, what did you do for me? Because it becomes such an innate understanding of self. It's almost like, well, okay, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I'm sitting here wondering what my golden thread might be and thinking it's probably blindingly obvious. It's probably got something to do with mothering and nurturing. Because
You
I'm
have a very nurturing presence. Absolutely. I would agree with that. Yeah.
there's a photo of me looking. I'm 7 years old and I'm looking at my 2-year-old sister sat on my mum's knee, and the love, but the mothering love in my eyes is
Yeah.
just, yeah. And I've got 3 daughters, and I had 2 stepdaughters, and yeah, I'm a mummy.
Yeah, very definitely. That's bound to be part of your thread. There's usually different facets. So, I call purpose the one of a kind, nuanced. You're the only one on the planet who does it the way you do it. In fact, a scientist somewhere, I can't remember his name, figured out that each of us being here in our unique form is 1 in 400 quadrillion. Like, so really, really, it is very unique.
Pretty
The
unique.
way the way you do what you do and deliver in the world, nobody else on the planet does it.
Mm.
That's what I call purpose, is the very unique form of you, and it lives in you, and you can actually have an experience of purpose, like at the atomic level. Every atom, every cell, every part of you, when you feel your purpose in that way, like, boom, alignment, synchronicity, magic. And so that's my goal, is helping people find that level of nuance, so there's no way you're not going to live into that version of you.
Mm. And once you are, I guess that must just open the floodgates really
It does.
to abundance in all ways.
It does completely. Money, people, places, opportunities, insights, and shadow. It also opens the floodgates for all the things that still need to be cleaned up. Yep, that's here too.
Yeah.
But of course, we would do that, because that's, when you want to align with purpose, you want to live the most sincere, pure form of your expression that is available to you.
Mhm. And how are you doing in COVID? Are you still managing to run your business? And I was sitting here, I know you're in a place physically that you weren't didn't know you were going to.
Wasn't expecting to be like a year ago. I would never have imagined myself here. And, me too. This has been really challenging. I am very much a um, relational human, and I have lived by myself for a long time, which I love my space and time. And this has been extreme. I wrote and published the book 7 months prior to COVID. So I'd been in kind of a cave doing that. And then when the pandemic hit, it's like, oh no, not really. You're going to make me stay in my cave. How long now? So, about this summer is I literally plummeted into a rabbit hole of desperation because my mental health was taking a hit from the isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, now what? Like, what do I do now? And so I had to pull out all kinds, I had to develop some new tools for myself, and, which of course is another new level of healing awareness and insight. And I cleaned up shadow and did all kinds of work. And my business has actually done really well because, as you know, we've been evolving as a collective, and people are now more aware of, because we've evolved to the late subtle tier as humanity, and that's a whole nother conversation, but we have now an awareness of this thing in us called true self or purpose. And so more people than ever are wanting to live a more fulfilling and authentic life. And so my business has expanded, and I started the community, the Purpose Creators Collective. I've been doing a lot of podcasts and speaking, and I'm now in the process of developing some courses. And personally, it's still been very hard. And so I find myself visiting my father in Central Texas, as you know, and just to get a little bit of community. I needed some people, and so it's just, we do what we have to do in the circumstances we live in to make the best of our scenario. And I'm so used to that like, okay, well, here I am now. This is what I'm doing now.
And that's a lovely way to live, actually, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's certainly easier than resisting and blaming, life and the universe for our discomfort
Mm-hmm.
and our pain. I had to shed, oh boy, I lived as a victim for a number of decades, and was depressed and suicidal on and off for about 30 years because of my childhood. And when I finally came to grips with the fact that I was creating the scenario in which I was suffering, and began to examine my own patterns and all the shadow that I needed to uncover and heal, um, life changed significantly. And I became more present to each and every opportunity in life as a way to learn something about who I am and what I need to work on.
And how you can create your own life. I'm doing a lot of work around at the moment about how we are, whatever you're sitting in at the moment, that's what you've created to date,
Right, right,
including your emotional landscape.
right.
And I too suffered from depression for a long time, and it was this roundabout. It's like, oh, here I am again. Oh, I know you, and there's a comfort in some of that
Mhm.
emotional baggage that we carry because we've been carrying it for certainly decades, this lifetime, who knows how many other lifetimes.
Yeah, truly, truly. And it becomes familiar. We resonate with what's familiar until we change the neurophysiology and the subtle experience. And then we begin to resonate with something different. So it's the stepping outside of those grooves in order to move to the next stage or next expression. That transition period is often very challenging for most of us.
Yeah. And I would apply exactly the same principles to our relationships with money. We're we've been programmed by a certain way of being that we're all very comfortable in. Oh yeah, well, some that we have the haves and the have-nots, but we don't have to stay like that.
Right,
But we need to do a bit of work. It doesn't just happen overnight. When we
right,
have these shadows and these blocks, we've got to face them head on and say, well, who are you? What are you doing?
right. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Holly, thank you so, so much. I know that you've got a really special free gift that you can offer to our listeners. Would you like to talk about it? Tell us what it is exactly.
Sure. I didn't have the description right in front of me, but it's called Pivot on Purpose, and Pivot on Purpose transform your dreams into meaningful and profitable work. And it's an audio course that I created, a 3-session audio course that takes some of the basic principles that I use in my work with clients and walks you through some pretty deep exercises. So it's something that you would take several days or several weeks with. I know people who've listened to it a number of times, like, oh yeah, I'm starting to figure this out. So it is a demonstration of what I talk about in the book. So it might be useful to read, to read the book and do the exercises. But, most of us really desire to find out more about our purpose, but we don't really know how to do that. And so this is some really basic strategies. And I don't know if you're going to have the link, Emma, but
The
it's
link will be, yeah, the link will be with the with this recording. That's incredibly generous. I can't wait to get my copy.
yeah, you were speaking about it. It's like, yeah, go do that, and then some people like, nah, I still need some help, which is great. And I am also creating some courses that can walk people through this process. I have also on my website, Emergence Institute, I have a document. It's a free document called the Roadmap, Purpose to Impact Roadmap. What's it called? And it's the 12 steps that I use in taking people from purpose to implementing your next expression and having impact. So I've been doing this for decades now. And I don't know, a decade ago or so, it's like, okay, I'm a scientist. I know how to validate my work. And I really set about in my laboratory of like, what are the most essential things that we need to do to both uncover our purpose, to be rid of the constraints, the shadow, the limiting beliefs, etc., and then to build and live into that next expression of us to have more impact. So this 12-step model I've been devising and testing and refining for 30 plus years. And so that roadmap is on my website, and the courses will be designed around that roadmap. So
Thank
go to
you.
the website. There's another freebie.
That is super generous of you. Thank you so, so much. As is your generous giving of your time during this
Oh,
conversation.
my
It's
delight. This was
been
so
lovely
fun.
to get to know you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, snow coming to Austin, Texas in February. Good luck with that. I'm
Miracles never cease.
I'm sure it will just be a little sprinkle, but I hope you stay warm and I hope you stay safe.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you for your time.
Thank you. This was delightful.